The man never expected that he had practiced fending for 14 years, but in the end he realized that he could not even defeat a blind man. However, little did he know that the scene in front of him had actually frightened everyone present because only they knew who this blind man was. S-Class Adventurer Fugitive, Deadman Explosion. It was said that his strength was even greater than the Six Saints, but how could Nor, who grew up in the mountains, know this? Not long ago, after Nor successfully defeated the Black Death Dragon, a blindfolded man suddenly appeared and challenged him. In order to take the demon back, Nor initially thought that the man was here to pick up the child, but it was not until he suddenly attacked and said that he could use the boy's body in exchange for money that Nor realized that the child was entrusted to him. Although he did not know what the situation was, his instincts told him that the man in front of him was dangerous. It seemed like just a slash that could not be detected by the naked eye, but in fact, he had used all his strength just by relying on his intuition to receive the attack. The blow he could swing was so heavy and powerful. Even the cow he fought before was a little stronger. At this time, the man also found that his knife was broken. This felt very strange. He knew that his weapon was made of imperial metal and ancient dragon teeth. Logically speaking, there should be no way to break it, so he collided with the sword. But what he felt was most wrong was that he had slashed at least 1,000 times with the weapon since just now, but the result was only a few scratches. He discovered that the man with his eyes closed in front of him turned out to be a pair of wanted S-Class adventurers. According to legend, the man was the youngest S-Class in history. At the age of 10, he had mastered the ancient science of dwarf alchemy to the extreme. At the age of 13, he obtained the title of Dragon Slayer. Could be said to be a unique equipment that could only be found once in a century. Not all of that person's talents and skills were used on the right path. As written in the information at that time, he once wiped out the entire army of a country in one breath and killed all the royal members there, like destroying a goblin nest, despite the large number of adventurers, then went to conquer for the sake of reward money. However, only the number of corpses and the amount of bounty increased. So in order to avoid unnecessary sacrifices, the guild could only decide to lie to the outside world and claim that the crusade was successful, so this was called Dead Man's Gambit. At this time, the blind man also decided to show his true skills. First, he threw his weapon into the air, then the weapon suddenly began to split, and in the blink of an eye it turned into countless crossed silver swords. Then he simply swung the countless silver swords and pulled them up like thousands of arrows. This was his famous silver cross move. Hundreds of lives were taken in the blink of an eye at the cost. This guy finally couldn't sit still. When his troops were about to attack, his light shield finally appeared to block the attack. Seeing that the problem could not be solved, this continued. Ines suggested that Nor take charge of attacking him and focus on defense. As long as he destroyed all the flying swords, he could win. Nor saw the Black Death Dragon's teeth fall to the ground. Maybe using this combined with throwing rocks could help deal with it. First he used his body to strengthen, and then as his sword approached. Seeing that this trick was effective, Nor continued to use throwing stones. Just as he had just missed his last blow, the blindfolded man suddenly attacked from behind. As expected, the blindfolded man did not expect his attack to be predicted. Even his hardest blow could not match the sword in Nor's hand. Seeing that the attack failed for a long time, the blindfolded man just watched the beating. However, before leaving, he did not forget to remind him that there was something happening in the imperial capital. Next, he advised some people not to go there now for a lively festival, but he did not know what kind. There was indeed a festival, but he heard that it would be very grand. He was very concerned about the princess. The imperial capital festival that the masked man mentioned. When Nor suggested that he go back, the boy suddenly trembled and said that he should not go back because he had heard about the biggest event before he came. If any of them came to the imperial capital, the entire city would be destroyed. Although some people did not understand what the boy wanted to express, they still wanted to go back, more serious than imagined. On the other side of the imperial capital, the situation gradually stabilized under the struggle of the Six Saints. However, the prince still guessed that the prince would receive the next wave of attacks. There were no similar signs at all. Just when the prince was confused, he suddenly looked at the sky. There seemed to be something on the ground. Could it be that the attack came from the sky? Concealment removal magic. However, it didn't matter if he didn't use it. The next second, a huge black dragon suddenly appeared in front of him. At the same time, Nor and her group were also on their way to the royal capital in a hurry, but they soon realized that their current speed was too late to catch up with the rescue because the demon dragon had already landed in the center of the royal capital, and even if they could catch up, they would not be able to do anything. There was nothing she could do with her strength. Just when the princess thought that everything was helpless, Nor came up with an idea. By using the storm spirit behind her to speed her up, just like she did when she defeated the Goblin King before. This also made the princess feel surprised because generally, the storm spirit could not be used on humans, but then I thought about it, maybe it could be done if the target was Nor. She had seen the opponent's strength all this time, and it was not something that could be measured by common sense. Iris first used a light shield to make a cannon barrel, then Nor stood in front and took a position, then the princess fired it to make sure it was safe. The princess immediately added 6 layers of boards. As for why 6 layers, it was because she could only stack them. On the other side, the king had also reached the highest point of the royal capital and planned to fight the dragon to the death, could turn the entire continent into scorched earth in an instant. He had nothing to do with it. It was different from dying. After realizing that he couldn't even scrape off his skin as he wished, the king immediately took out his cross sword and planned to launch the strongest attack at the cost of his own life. However, just as the king was about to attack, Nor arrived in time and successfully used a parry to change the direction of the demon dragon's breath. Even the demon dragon itself was extremely cruel. He didn't understand why a small human could block his attack with his righteousness. After realizing that he was humiliated, the dragon became even more furious, so he decided to use the strongest attack to destroy the human in front of him. But the strange thing was that his attack could still be parried by the man. At the same time, the princess and Ines also rode horses and rushed to the battlefield. Unexpectedly, they were attacked by the Goblin King as soon as they entered the ordinary monster city, so ordinary attacks would not cause any damage. Fortunately, the demon man on the side took timely action to control the group of goblin monsters. This gave the princess and Ines a chance to fight back. Nor continued to use parry to fight the demon dragon to the death. The demon dragon didn't understand why his claws and even scales were harder than steel, but now there were such thick scars, which also made him understand that he had made a mistake. If he used this trick, there will never be any mistakes. As he said that, he flew towards the sky and planned to use dragon breath again. And after seeing that even his breath couldn't hurt the man, this made the dragon feel angry for the first time in a long time. You know he is the strongest monster, but now it seems that the weakest is actually the dragon. He said he doesn't believe in evil. He continued to run towards Nor, but as expected, his claws were cut off by his punch. Seeing this presence, the magical dragon finally understood that he was the one who was meant to be weak.